Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the State of the AI Union. I'm your host, Laura, and joined with me today is Jared Robin, CEO and founder of RevGenius, a community of 60,000 revenue professionals. Jared, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about RevGenius.
Yeah, I'm Jared. The title CEO is just like a technicality when you run a smaller operation for the government. But as I fix my camera here a bit, started RevGenius 6 years ago during COVID. Realized that community was needed. It was needed then, really big, and I think what we're seeing now is, I think we're going to go back to needing community like nobody's business, because now that you have machines in the mix and people are feeling less or feeling scared. No matter how many times we say, now the whole line is AI is not replacing anybody. Great. That's the company line. Is that how people are actually feeling? Some are, and some are not, and a larger portion probably are not. So we grew to 65,000 members in sales, marketing, and RevOps, and customer success to a lesser quantity of folks in the community, and constantly evolving, and really excited. Grew it by just asking people if they wanted to join.
Amazing. So, your audience, you talked about sales, marketing, RevOps, a little bit of customer success. What's something that's common about all these people that walk through the door? What's something that they're looking to find and have found, I guess, when they come?
Well, the reason why I wanted to have all of these sectors verse one is because 6 years ago, I felt that that everybody that came in was trying to solve for the same problem from a different aspect. And that's the revenue problem. Like they're all involved in this revenue world. The niche stuff, all the niche communities I saw out there, great, phenomenal. But I thought that they doubled down on this idea of siloing,
Mm-hmm.
which 6 years ago, the company line was, yeah, we're going to work cross functionally, but like so much them didn't, even if they tried. And I think, the segue into AI is the first tool that's de-siloed departments, so to speak, actually de-siloed. Because if you remember, companies are like, okay, sales and marketing alignment or unification or whatever. Yet you had Marketo in marketing and outreach in sales that sort of do the same thing. Sure, this is more for scale. This is more for marketing. This is more for
Right.
sales.
Right.
First principles, guys. They send emails in cadence, in bulk, and there's nuances that are different. But now, so like you had siloing of tools, and then the people are working around them. So even if you're working together, there was always some bit of silo. And now and I wasn't predicting AI was going to take over the world 6 years ago, but I knew that whatever would come out would work towards de-siloing that. So that's the main thing that they have in common. But like from a personal level, they want to learn and they want to meet new people to expand their network.
Right. Right. So, what do you think is something that you have learned from your audience since you started the community that maybe surprised you or you might have gotten wrong in the beginning?
So I mean, geez, over 6 years, there's something new I'll learn every year. Like right now, I'm learning that everybody is learning from Go. Whether you're a senior leader or an individual contributor, you're learning the new way to operate
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And that's why you've seen a rise of like super ICs that
Mm,
could just do more because they've taken the ownership in learning. And just because they don't have a team, frankly, arguably, they're more important to a company than a leader that doesn't, right? Because they're an operator. I don't even know if it's arguable anymore, Laura. Like I want to say arguable because you have a CRO that's like, I guess it depends on the stage of the company, to be frank, right? Like, and but certainly earlier, they're the most valuable person. and they could be and you're seeing like orgs become flatter.
Yeah. Yep.
You're seeing them become smaller, and I think that's a good thing. Short term, that kind of sucks, but long term, I think it's like a really good thing. And when the orgs are becoming flatter, it's putting everybody, somebody who used to manage 50, 100, 200 people at the same level of somebody that didn't manage anybody because you know there's less people to manage. So like everybody's getting back to first principles, and this was so cool to me. And this is something I didn't realize so many people would be at a similar level, with this new technology being like the equalizer.
Yeah, and I think that's also I think what I'm observing too from the community, which is like the people that are in the community, they want to be super contributors. They are actually the more curious people that want to be tinkering with tools, like what can this workflow do, what can this tool do, and I'd say too, like in hiring, like these are the kind of like mindset of people that I typically look for when I interview. So that's super interesting.
One
Now, go ahead.
one other thing I'm seeing
Yeah,
really
yeah.
quickly, I'm seeing the founder persona increase quite a bit from
Mm-hmm.
new members.
Okay.
And I don't have the numbers, but I'm seeing a lot of people with day jobs applying for RevGenius with the founder title of their side hustle.
Mhm.
They're making a bet on themselves. That's a big thing. I'm seeing a lot. So I think companies will be smaller on average,
Right.
in the future. I think there will be a lot more companies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think the net for jobs will be positive.
Right. 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 Yeah. That's really insightful. And actually, let's talk about that for a second because you spent this time the last 6 years growing it to 60,000 people in your community, and in some ways you kind of did this like as a side hustle for people for bringing everybody together. But let's talk about like companies that are thinking about their audience and community. And we had a short conversation about this. Tell us a little bit more about your perspective on that.
So let's just look at it from a purely first principles. Like my perspective is engaged with this. Like there's more noise than ever. Like it's literally the noise machine. It's never been easier to create content, to create good content. Good isn't good enough, but that's a side thing. It's never been easier to send outbound campaigns, to cold call people. It's never been easier to have somebody do it for you or an AI do it for you, whether that works or not. It is inconsequential because it's all right before this, I got a cold call from somebody that didn't even pick up, probably to see if my number picked up to sell that data to somebody else.
Right.
And I'm sure you had 2 before lunch yesterday. But like, it doesn't matter if it works or not. It's creating this environment where there's just noise and good doesn't cut it. So yes, you can go and do great. And I certainly think doing great is table stakes. But to really differentiate yourself, one, you need a unique point of view, and to rally against what's wrong with the current category that your perceived competitors live in, whether you're building a new category or not. You need to think like being better as a company is table stakes. It's
Yes.
table stakes. Don't start a company if you're not going to be better, in one way, shape, or form. That goes without saying. Being different is big there. And then building audience. And when I say building audience, the first thing people think is on social. And I think that is the first place. But like also, and there's noise there, figuring out how to bring them into an owned audience, like let's say a newsletter.
Mm.
And then you have a group of people, theoretically your ICP, if you're doing it s- thoughtfully, that will see your point of view, that will help you with quicker feedback loops versus, and you put that on social, that's great, you should. Social's determining who sees that
Mm.
within your audience.
Hmm. Mhm.
You have a 50,000 person audience, you might have under 5,000 of them seeing it. You have a 50,000 person newsletter and your open rate is 40 or 50%, you have a much higher percentage of people seeing your ideas and stuff. And then not to mention, getting real engineering like nowadays, you have first party signals and you could figure out how to optimize what you're showing them a lot easier. Like it's not as clear what's gonna do well or how well it's gonna do, like, on social. And sure, you could optimize there to an extent, but it's still, at the function of, or at the, function of the social network. With email, you could literally see it. With community and Slack, you could literally see it and talk to people and understand what's resonating and what's not. And make some guesses there and test some things, right? Like, and do all of that. So the value of building audience is absolutely tremendous and it's table stakes. And it starts with the founder evangelizing. It then goes and I mean, look at some of, the top companies over time. Steve Jobs was one of the best evangelists ever. Mark
Mhm.
Benioff just was on, I was just listening to him talk about, when people are saying the end of CRM, and he's like, Anthropic and ChatGPT are our customers.
Right. Right, right, right.
That's powerful, right? Like he just took that whole narrative and was just, and I still think over time there might be there, but it was like wonderful. And then Elon Musk, love him or hate him, is a tremendous evangelist. And then building that, and that's great for social, building that to an own channel allows your go to market team to take, a little more precise action as well. And you build a following around not just doing these things. And, I want to, backtrack to me talking about point of view and questioning what was wrong with the category. Because otherwise it's just like, hey, do you want to join my sales community or my sales newsletter? Great. Haven't seen one of those yet. But you look at Mark Benioff said no more software. Something so simple. Well, I mean, words so simple, but such a powerful message. And he created cloud. You have Elon Musk's point of view. He's had many, but like proverb, like kind of like no more gas powered. This is why, and then they frame it, and then that's where you build the followers and all of that, and you could do that by sharing your journey as well. Like some people are pretty successful just building in public, and I think that's certainly an angle. But I think the companies that are creating the newest, when I say the newest, the biggest movements on a company level are fundamentally shifting the way people think, having the product follow that, just like what you all are doing with computer and DevRev, and building that massive audience behind it to come along with it. The audience is who's going to buy, right? And then taking one more step back without going on too much of a tangent. If you're doing outbound to 100,000 people, they're going to say yes, no, or later. They're probably going to say yes or no. The amount of people that say yes, if you reach out to 100,000 people, let's assume you're getting a 1% reply rate, which we all know is probably we're happy with 1,000 people. Okay. Maybe they'll buy, maybe they won't. Maybe you'll get 100 of them. And that's great. Like early stage, that's a good thing. If you were to reach out to the 100,000 people and ask them in one way or another, maybe not literally ask them to join your audience, but figure out a way to bring them into not a sales conversation, I think it's safe to say you're going to get a higher percentage, maybe 5x, maybe 10x. And then you have people that are starting to engage with your brand already. So let's say you get 5x and you're at 50,000. Huh. And then you can see the signals there. And I'm trying to be as objective as possible here, right? Like outside my point of view, theoretically, you could have more sales conversations that way and have more people coming to you as well.
Yeah, I think that everybody that you talk to will probably agree with you that, audience and community building are probably very important, especially, at an earlier stage. Like you said, more founder led companies. moving forward. And at the same time, I do think that the way that communities grow are when they are authentic and they're really valuable to the person attending. Just like you said, is there a unique POV? Is there something that you're educating people about? And I think that all of this work is really hard. I'm a professional host, so I spend a lot of time hosting people. And I think that work is really hard. And I'm just wondering whether can AI do some of it for us? What do you think are those areas that AI can do a little bit of a wedge?
So, a couple things. I want to like, I think audience is everybody in your ecosystem that's consuming your content in one way or another. Like that's a working definition that will work with here. Community could be a subsect under that, but I don't necessarily think it's the whole thing. And I think that that gets conflated. You mentioned trust and all of this, and that's big. It's very hard to build, and also let's talk. Let's define community as like a regular cadence communication, back and forth. Where a newsletter is kind of one way, sure, you might get a little bit of replies back and forth. So whether it's in a Slack or a regular, I don't even want to say a regular webinar because I think that that's kind of like audience and like demand gen type stuff.
Right.
It could be in like Gainsight, it could be like roundtables, things like that, where people speak. Getting people into that cold, so to speak, is is incredibly difficult to build that trust. So like where that sits the easiest is in like the retention part of companies. Like if you're a SaaS company, like the best communities I've seen or the most effective, let's rattle them off. Salesforce, HubSpot, Clay, props to Clay, Beehive, Figma. How many people not using those products do you think are in those communities? Very, very little, if any, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
people aren't like joining like all the Slack world tours unless they're like one step from starting with a Salesforce, right? Like one step away, like onboarding to like learn more and to like, so I think community is community better. And so now with that, thinking through, can AI help? AI could help everywhere, 100%. It could help with the processes behind community. It could help with like probably the acquisition processes behind newsletter, like scraping signals, sending something. On the community side in particular, I believe that there needs to be a human showing up. I send an automated message to a lot of people that I hand wrote at the beginning and scale that. Sure. Can AI have done that? Yeah, can it have done it as well as I do? If I had enough feedback loop, sure. But I'm the one responding to their response of that. Could I have AI respond for me? Absolutely. Actually, I was messaging somebody at 6:30 in the morning yesterday after I sent a broad anybody who didn't engage in the last 30 days note. Like what could I do to bring more value, right? Like that was scale. And we went back and forth and and I went back and forth manually and he actually wrote to me, it seems like I'm having a conversation with AI because I'm like, why'd you join and stuff? I was like trying to
Right.
like structure some of the stuff. And that hit me in the feels that as a human hearing that, and frankly, if it was AI, that would probably have been even better in that conversation because he thought I was AI anyway.
Right. Right. Right.
And also growing the community. Like let's put like automation under the umbrella of AI. So like pre-AI growing the community, there was automation. I manually reached out to people to like nuance past the LinkedIn algorithm, DMing people, and I was copying and pasting, and they'd write back, "Is it a bot?" My ability to respond in like sub 5 minutes as a human made it all okay. I'm like, no, actually, I just copied and pasted and sent it to you. I'm reaching out to 300 people a day. I hope you'll forgive me. Now, AI could have done that as well, to be fair, but I think it takes a human like understanding all the way deep to the nuances of being human to get past that. And I haven't given enough trust to the AI on that side of things. On the newsletter side of things, and I look at the example. I just saw the founder, not the founder, the chief AI officer of Lionsgate talk with the founder of Atlantic about making movies and like what the biggest bet they were making. And the bet wasn't replacing the people. The they were working on what they've already done is like sped up all the post-production, pre-production, some of the set stuff around it. And I think this example is very relevant for community and like audience building in general. Yeah, speed up all of that. The content production, like we're able to move way faster in creating newsletters and stuff. Like right after this, if you have, even if you don't have, you could just download the transcript, put it into Claude, and say write me a newsletter using all the rules or all the skills that I have, and and damn, you could even workflow it, and you probably have. But having this conversation together will never get replaced.
Mm.
And if it does, it becomes so inauthentic, it's beyond belief. You're not interviewing AI. You're not pretending to interview me although you could have all of that data.
Yeah.
You could have a really good interview, but we're still choosing to be here. I think that's key. The bet that she actually was gonna say, in the Lionsgate example was, distribution. That's how they're gonna use AI the most. So I would echo that, like, let's focus AI on acquisition, activation, gates, like getting them in and getting them activated, and then, like, engagement, everything, like, let's bring some humans in to figure that out and let AI kinda be the pipes to the process, like understanding what type of human activity works or not.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you correctly, we should use AI, or the best use cases for AI in growing communities are in acquisition and activation. But at the same time, the best use of it comes with scaling a human, a human's voice before that level of activation and acquisition.
Absolutely.
And I like what you said that, if we use AI for those things, the distribution, the acquisition, the engagement itself, we should keep human to human, because then it will actually allow us to use AI on that engagement to do other cool things like content generation.
100%. And as I launch my newsletter and stuff, how could I make it human when it's so easy to do AI and people are doing it well? I don't It's definitely not everybody. But some people are doing it well. That's by having another human on that I want to learn from. Like we're having this conversation and then letting AI do the post-production stuff, just like this wonderful Riverside platform could do.
Yes. Let's talk a little bit about the the signals, topics that you're getting from your audience in Slack, and you have like 60,000 Slack members.
Mhm.
Comments from your newsletter, that kind of thing. You had mentioned earlier that before AI, we were using workflows to kind of topic cluster some of this. What are some brilliant ways that you've seen AI come and help you do more of that signal gathering from your audience right now so that you can find relevant topics for them?
Yeah. Well, I just did this yesterday, after meeting with a sponsor and thinking of topics that would be relevant to them. And so a couple things here. One, I'm using tools that were available pre AI to do, and there's AI integrated. So I don't know where the automation starts and it stops and the AI starts, but
Right, right.
like tools like Common Room, where I'm finding generally, I'm able to search for people with certain titles, roles, geography. It's obviously enriched in the platform to understand that. And I could look for sentiment. I get that already. So I guess it's built into that tool. I haven't built it, where I could get sentiment analysis. I could see people that have dropped off. Not a perfect. I could set up cohorts to do cohort analysis. Truth be told, I haven't done it yet because there's like people coming all the time. And it's just not a top priority at the moment. Although if somebody else on my team wants to take that over, have at it. How I used AI to our core revenue driver is sponsorship revenue. So I got off a call with a tremendous brand yesterday and ideated some ideas on the call, just based on what I was seeing, like gut feeling type stuff. And after the call, I took the call notes in. I took my Slack had an MCP to Claude as well. And I said I also wanted to just genuinely search sentiment around and come up with the 5 best topics. Now I prompted my gut feeling there because those weren't the first topics as are common. Like for instance, the top topics that came back were signals, da da da. Da. My gut feeling was context layer, context layer, context layer, like knowledge graph, knowledge graph, knowledge graph. I think this
I
conversation,
love that you're saying that.
like that was my gut feeling, and I said, now do it for this. And I said, also do it for this. Also layer in RevOps leaders, like what they would be with. And then I said, cool, we have 5 ideas. Now rank them based on and taking everything out of the internet. Now rank them based on what you see in Slack. And the numbers shifted. But what's key to understand here, Slack is who's engaged in Slack. It's not the whole revenue community, so to speak. It's not the whole RevGenius community, but it did give me a baseline and some information. It's like number 3, number 5, number 1, whatever numbers I missed, 4 and 2. But like acknowledging 4 and 2 might be the best things. It's just not what we're seeing. But like that's how I used AI like yesterday. And then I gave the potential sponsor, I said, here are 5 ideas, but like and it was like pretty well informed. Of course, they didn't respond right away to that phenomenal email. If you got that, that would have been like, wow, that's great. Thanks. Thank you, person. I digress. But it was just like a way to give way more informed things. Now I don't want to discount the gut feeling because like seeing things before the community is. Everybody's still hell bent on signal based outbound. And it's not that I'm not at all, but I think it's been talked about enough. And I think it still should be talked about, but it's kind of redundant at this point. Like there's nothing I could say or help work with a sponsor who does it tremendously, by the way, create something that the community hasn't seen. So like I need to think what and this requires nuance, right? I need to think, should we capture the demand that's there? And maybe the answer is yes, right? Or do we want to have something thought leadership wise and show where the puck is going? So that's like an honest question. So like from a demand capture standpoint, that's big. And maybe our relationship just is that. Like, how can I capture the demand in the community? And frankly, like that would prove very valuable. But showing both those levers and where it's going, man, I guess I've had every conversation on granola. Like, I guess it could come in, but there's also something, a gut feeling that to have there. So like I want to share both sides there.
Yeah, and be thoughtful about it, right? Not
Mhm.
just what granola is transcribing or the LLM is saying. Okay, cool. This is the last question about this particular topic. Then we want to learn a little more about you. But this is an AI generated question. I quite like it. And the question is this: like today, we already have a ton of channels and communities that every sales professional can sign up to. And a lot of the content, as you said, is generated by AI. So there's a lot of content and there's a lot of it saturating the market. When we say that, community building is essential to companies, whether they're building it themselves or they're showing up in communities like, RevGenius, do you think that that is actually self-serving to the community builder, or is that actually the real moat? And where do you think these communities should go next? What's the future of communities at scale?
So when you say community builder, are you saying a third party community builder that's just launching a new community, or are you saying if DevRev wanted to create a community,
Like if
like
they
or
wanted,
any
yeah,
company?
any company wanted to create a community or a community builder outside that was actively building their community. Like, is this concept where audience is so like community is so important that, and at the same time so saturated?
So first and foremost, the reason why I group community on the retention side is because I think if a company is trying to build a community, it's 1,000 million billion percent self-serving, 1 trillion%. They're not doing it unless there's a revenue KPI to hit. And I hope the way if it's self-serving, that's not necessarily a bad thing. If and that's why I throw it on the retention side of things because they're already your customer. So you're not trying to sell them, which selling somebody for the first time completely erodes trust. So it's safer. So if they're already using your product, then great. How can I help computer users computer better and put them in a community with people? And like our goal, our self-serving goal is to create more power users, to create more evangelists, and then like activate those evangelists to bring new people in. But before we do that, we realize we have to help them user better. Clay community has clay people helping other clay people clay better. Figma community has the same thing. Of course, there's some agencies trying to sell stuff, but you get the idea in general. So, but taking a step back, like you need to, you can't build community unless it's to serve the community in general. In general. So, like, if you were gonna build it as a company outside of your users, let's say, or like third party, I would separate it from revenue in in general, right? Like, so if you have a paid community for new people coming in, I think there's an aspect of it that's self-serving. If you have a community that's just trying to help people and like look at the most successful communities in business. I'm pretty sure they're in the developer space.
You're correct. Yes.
They're open source. You're giving fucking shit away for free. And their movements, and they go gaga. Like, fuck the GTM communities for a minute because, like, there's so much nuance there. Let's look at developer communities. They're the best and they're so rad. And when they sniff ulterior motive, whoosh, they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Okay.
Take that mindset.
I like that. Help others, help them do whatever they're doing better, and then sell them on something. And
I'm not sure having a financial model for members builds true community.
like Substack.
Well, no, not even like enter a community that charges for members to come in,
I see. I see.
like from a community
Okay,
standpoint.
got it.
And there's a lot, and I think it's a great business. To be clear, I think it could be a phenomenal business. But if you think about all the communities you belong to outside of work, PTO, church groups, Firemen's Association, New York Knicks Fans United, like that's one I would be a part of if it existed, and I might have to Google that after. But they're just people helping each other or fandoming with each other.
Mm-hmm.
The business model makes true community harder. And yeah, I mean, like RevGenius grew the fastest before we even had sponsorship.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Jared, let's learn a little bit more about you. I learned that you were a Knicks fans, but also I see a couple of posters behind you, and they're movie posters.
Yeah, I'm I've always been the business side of creative. I ran a fashion magazine for 4 years. didn't make a dollar, lost probably 20 grand, maybe more. It was a passion project. I call it a nonprofit, but I learned a ton. I learned what I liked. So outside of fashion, as the creative world goes, there's Long Legs Poster Neon, which is one of my favorite production studios and movies. This is Ex Machina in the AI world. I figured I'd bring it in.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies, A24 movie studio, which I hold in high regard. O32C and Horse. Horse is for my partner. She loves horses. O32C was for both of us. It's like an edgier fashion magazine, and then the Clash here, music. I'm really into. I think creativity, taste, culture are the things that make us unique and enriched, and our lives enriched. I personally think that. So I try to get as much of that as possible and bring that into everything I do. Having run a fashion magazine as a side project years ago and winning international fashion film awards, my partner actually was the creative director of magazines like Cosmopolitan, Cosmo, Playboy, Airbnb Mag, for a little bit under Hearst, the whole slew of very talented, award winning. She's about to become, by the time this airs, it'll be because on Monday is her first day, the global design director at Pepsi. So like we share a lot of similar interests in that. I built RevGenius because I wanted to actually build a community for creatives. She didn't like the idea. What I realized years later, after now I'm a paying member of what I was thinking about building, I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted to build. I'm like, so happy somebody took it and ran. I don't want to own real estate anyway. But I looked at B2B and I said, wow, this space lacks creativity and culture. Everything I'm seeing, because like when you like this stuff and you hang out in groups that also like that, and you probably go to different places, have yeah, different friends, have different access to things that like traditional business people wouldn't even think about, or like, you know, be cool enough to go to sometimes. I'm like, how can we bring this into B2B? Like, how can we bring the world, like seeing what's happening outside? Because I sense that B2B people are just like anybody. It's just there's something in this world that's buttoned up and everything else. And I'm like, what if we could help create a space that was like more accessible? And I said, if I don't do it, I don't know who is. And I'm like, holy shit, like, I think I have to do it. I was righteous during COVID. And turns out it was a good idea.
Yeah.
But
And
I
those
mean, I
three,
don't think I've executed it the way I was hoping. But, that was the underlying belief behind it.
yeah, and those three things that you mentioned, creativity, culture, and taste, those are the new standard for luxury because it indicates that you have the ability to do those things. And I do think that those things are what separates actually humans from machines. So I love that. And
Although,
thanks for
thank you. Although a founder who I think is going to do a really good job just created like an AI for taste and raised a bunch of money. I don't know, Laura, like that disenfranchises me a little. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I'll be excited to see and test it out. Always a new use case, always worth trying out. Anyway, it's been a great conversation, Jared. I think this is a good place to close. Do you have any last words actually for the audience before you go?
No, hit me up on LinkedIn or join RevGenius. Just revgenius.com and click join now.
So, well, thank you. Thanks for being on the show. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this, drop a comment, hit subscribe. Otherwise, we will see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Today's episode is sponsored by Computer by DevRev. Computer is enterprise AI built on one idea. That shared memory makes AI work for go-to-market teams. It connects your systems, conversations, and deal history into one living, breathing digital memory. So your teams get accurate, trusted answers and can take action with confidence. Because Computer curates the right context before it ever hits the model, you consume up to 60% fewer tokens with every call. Find out more and start your free trial at devrev.com.